roll here. We have good news for you in a couple of different areas. We want to cover one area first and give you a chance to ask questions, and then the second area. But they're both cause for March gladness. I had to try real hard on that one. But in a few minutes, we'll be launching our new open data website, which is a huge step forward in the area of government transparency. But we want to start with some very positive news about a related area of accountability. We got some good news back this week, and I'm joined in that effort by our newest finance director, Brandon Kaufman, who you'll hear from in a second here, and our city controller, an old hand, Peggy Thardish. Peggy, good to see you again this morning. And she's joined by David Schluter. I hope I pronounced that right. Close? Okay. Who's also been participating in these efforts for a while now to continually keep up and improve our financial accountability. Brandon and Peggy, of course, are two of the key people who work every day to reach one of the main goals of city government, which is to maintain a very high standard of financial performance. The public needs to know, of course, that their tax dollars are being spent appropriately, and we have indeed set a very high bar. Lincoln has been ranked one of the very best managed cities in the nation. We have the highest possible bond ratings from our credit agencies. Those bond ratings save the city literally millions of dollars in interest when the city borrows money. And for the last 32 years, the city's annual CAFRA, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, has received a Certificate of Achievement from the Government Finance Officers Associations. That means we do really well. We've been doing really well for a really long time. And we'll know in a few months now if our 2016 CAFRA will extend that winning streak to 33 straight years. Every year, city finances are also subject to a very thorough audit. We have received the results of the 2015-16 financial year, fiscal year, and there were no audit findings. In other words, no areas of concern that we were asked to or required to address. And this is most unusual for a city of our size. Keep in mind that this audit also looks at whether we're meeting all of the stringent requirements of the various departments of the federal government with regard to their grant programs, and if we're meeting the national auditing standards of the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Boards, which year by year become more and more stringent. Again, our record is stellar. Obviously, our recently retired finance officers played the huge role in this accomplishment, so I want to again recognize the years of hard work by Don Hers, I don't know if he's here today, or Steve Hubka. Quiet guys do great work. I'm not surprised that they're not here. But let me tell you, they are gone, not forgotten. We call them back every now and then and say, will you help us with this piece or that piece? And they never say no. So I want to thank them very much, and I want to remind Brandon what big shoes he has to fill. I also want to recognize and thank Peggy, of course, and the entire finance department staff. The citizens of the community are indeed blessed to have such talented and dedicated professionals working hard for them every day. So with that, I'm hoping Brandon maybe will make a couple of comments, and then we'll move forward to questions and the second part of our press conference.
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to be pretty short and sweet, but it's great to join this team that's blessed with such a great staff who are committed to the financial transparency of the organization through the CAFR, and achieving that GFOA award is one of the highest transparency awards that you can achieve. When you go through the CAFR document and checklist, you know, it's about 106 pages of checklists that you have to go through to make sure that everything's included in that document. So it's very transparent in all the information that we're putting out. In addition to that, we've got the longest winning streak in Nebraska for the CAFR, and we're very proud of that. You know, the mayor mentioned we're going on hopefully our 33rd year. It's the longest in the state out of the 9 municipalities that achieve that award, including, I think, the state of Nebraska and Omaha. So we're proud of that, and I'm very proud to join this team. Thank you.
Okay. Well, why don't I release you people and invite, oh, questions? Are there questions? Okay, well, stand by. And we will go ahead and deal with the second part of our presentation, and the cast of characters associated with this is much larger. This is a newer thing for us, and I would like to invite City Council Member Lyrian Gaylord-Baird. Where's Lyrian? Come on up here. She's had a big role in this, huge role. And then all of the people who have been working on or with the City Performance Management Team and the members of the city's Open Data Governance Committee, and I know there are a large number of you here. All of you scoot up here real quick so people can see what kind of a group effort this has been.
Good grief.
Thank you all for being here.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. I can't tell you how protected I feel with all these people up here in so many different ways. So today, though, we're officially launching the city's new open data and performance management website, opendata.lincoln.ne.gov. The site here will be on the screen momentarily.
We've had some trouble. All right, there you go.
All right. This is a new resource that's there to help the public more easily find the volumes of data that some of which are already on our city website. They can use this data to more clearly understand how local government works, how city resources are used, and how we arrive at a variety of important decisions. We also hope that members of the public will use this data in some creative ways to further improve government. Our Public Safety Director, Tom Cassidy, led this effort. He will walk us through the site in a few minutes, and he will give us some examples. Lyrian, though, really got the ball rolling on this effort, along with her fellow council member, Trent Fellers, who couldn't join us today. With their leadership, the council last summer unanimously passed a resolution to encourage the adoption of open data by the City of Lincoln. Today's announcement of the first version of the Open Data and Performance Management website is a major step in implementing the intent of that original resolution. But the roots of this new system, this new data portal, really go back more than 8 years. That's when we began the process of creating a system to ensure that citizens' concerns were more consistently heard. We also wanted to ensure that we were using a data-driven approach to managing our resources to achieve our goals. This effort evolved into the taking charge process, which you guys are familiar with. We identified 8 key outcomes for city government efforts and used public input to rank the priority of our efforts. The top three right now, you'll recall, are safety and security and livable neighborhoods and economic development. All 8 of the outcome areas were assessed through specific goals and performance indicators. This year, we're taking the next step up in performance management with what we are calling LinkStat. This is an improved process to review our progress on reaching our goals, to systematically make adjustments as needed, and to share the information both internally and externally with the public. Our first round of LinkStat meetings is almost finished. At those sessions, we review the performance data and develop strategies and action steps to enhance our efforts to reach those goals. These kinds of performance management sessions are part of a growing national trend. I'm proud that Lincoln is one of the nation's innovative cities that are focusing on systematic data-driven management. Our new open data and performance management website allows the public to easily check our Taking Charge data and to find out what is happening at the LinkStat meetings themselves. But that's not all you'll find. The public will find city data sets, data resources, and data applications as well. The website is loaded with information that researchers, students, developers, businesses, and any other citizen is free to examine, download, and use. Much of the data is not new. Some has already been used internally in different formats. Some has been available to the public for many years, but was difficult to find, cumbersome to extract, or limited in scope. The Open Data and Performance Management website provides one-stop access by bringing all of the information together in a convenient single location. It is free and it is published without restrictions. So with that, Lyrian, I want to thank you again, and Trent, and I'm hoping you will add your perspective to this. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. We have a couple members of the committee who are in the back of the room. Do you want to know? They want to stay back there. All right. Sign of the humility of these talented folks who've been a part of this. Well, I just want to say that smart cities complement traditional infrastructure investments with investments in the building blocks of innovation. And Lincoln's done just that with this open data portal. We've essentially built an information pipeline. And this information pipeline proactively shares data and publishes it in a central location that is more accessible to all. And making the city's data available to all opens the door for creative analysis and use by citizens. It can help businesses that may find value in the data, entrepreneurs who may find creative use and applications for the data, and civic-minded citizens who may think of innovative ways to analyze the data. And we've already seen examples of this in our community, and with the greater availability of data, more potential could be unleashed. There are a lot of people to thank for their role in making this progress happen. First, I want to thank my council colleague, Trent Fellers. He and I both independently took an interest in open data, along the way discovered that we shared this interest, and immediately began collaboration on what became the Open Data Initiative that was passed unanimously by the council. I'm sorry that he can't be with us here today, but I'm pretty sure he's out there somewhere tweeting his gratitude as well. Secondly, I'd like to thank Eric Reese from What Works Cities and his colleague at the Sunlight Foundation, Alyssa Doom. Eric led our Open Data Boot Camp. He provided lots of samples of best practices from other cities, and for over 3 months, participated in weekly consultations with all of us here. Alyssa provided early guidance in the crafting of the Open Data Resolution that created this initiative, and all of Eric and Alyssa's expertise and help came at no cost to Lincoln. Their work was funded by Bloomberg Philanthropies, following Lincoln's selection as a What Works city. Our open data site is so much better for their insight, guidance, and commitment to our success. And lastly, I would like to express my deep appreciation to the Open Data Governance Committee. These folks, Matt Waite, Lisa Pitlick-Zillig, Lori Seibel, Steve Miller, Eric Jackson, David Young, Elizabeth Elliott, Raju Karkalapudi, Jeff Peterson, Julie Hector, Lana Tolbert, Jeff McReynolds, Ryan Axman, Eric Jones, Steve Henderson, County Commissioner Todd Wilchin, and Zach Bluhacek, and last but not least, our fearless data hound, Tom Cassidy. This group of city staff and elected officials and community members is generously still giving their time to steer this effort. They've helped identify and prioritize data sets for release, ensuring that sensitive information is safeguarded, and made sure that we incorporate public perspectives so that this is useful to end users. And I think Raju said it best. I was really excited to hear Raju say that he was really excited to be involved in this project because he saw it as a once-in-a-generation type of project. And I think when a project of this magnitude that involves this much time and effort lands in the lap of city staff and they take the approach that, hey, this is an opportunity, that's just inspiring. And I'm really pleased that that is really reflected in this group of people's approach. So we have a lot to celebrate today thanks to them, and I hope you'll join me in thanking them.
Yay! I certainly will. All right, and every group has to have some form of leadership, and this particular group had two great leaders. My chief of staff, Rick Hoppe, has been leading the city's performance management team, and of course, Tom's been mentioned as helping the other team organize and being the convener of the Open Data Governance Committee, which in that case was composed of both city staff and several members of the public, as you probably noted. Today's launch is just a start. We fully expect this website to continue to grow as more data is made available and as we hear from the public on what they would like to see on the site. The site does have a feedback link, and we encourage the public to give us their ideas. Again, the website is opendata.lincoln.ne.gov. So at this point, I will turn things over to Tom and then Rick for some quick demonstrations that will fill out your picture of what this is all about by talking about some specifics. So,
Thank you, Mayor.
did you emerge from the group? All right.
Well, this is our site, and it's available for the public right now. Just one more time, it's Lincoln Open Data, and you can find that at opendata.lincoln.ne.gov. We have a little over 100 data sets here that are available for the public. Just over half of those are available in machine-readable format for download. Probably the easiest way to find these data is just to use the search bar here, although the data is also organized into these 8 categories. So you can click any of these category links to get to the data that's in that category. I think it's easiest just to search for it by putting in a keyword of some sort. So for example, one of the city's performance indicators is to keep the number of traffic crashes, injury traffic crashes, low. And we have open data on traffic crashes. I'll just use a keyword, accidents. And here are the open data sets that we have available for traffic crashes. These are annual breakouts of traffic crashes. I'll click into the 2016 traffic crashes. These are the fields that are in the data. Some of these can be rendered as a graph. For example, if I click on something like type, it will show me the breakout of traffic crashes by injury, non-injury, hit and run, and so forth. The data itself can be viewed by clicking on the Data tab, and this is the actual data. It's 9,050 traffic crash records from 2016. So this is very easy to download. Anyone that wants to obtain this data for themselves using an application to do their own analysis can just click the download data link, select the format that they'd like to download the data in, and have it on their own desktop in a matter of seconds. One little trick, clicking on the City of Lincoln icon at the upper left always takes you back to the home page. So lots and lots of data is available here. As I said, it looks like we've got 102 data sets. Some of these are tabular data, some of it's spatial data, some of it is links to documents and other data resources. In addition to searching for data, the page also has some featured applications, things that we just wanted to highlight to people's attention. They're organized here. And then at the bottom of the page is information about the city's performance management system. And I'll turn this over to Rick to tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Tom. LinkStat grew out of a stat movement generally that started in the New York City Police Department about 20 years ago, where they put a system in place to examine their data and then to use it to take action to make things better in their community. It was really made popular by Martin O'Malley, who ran for president here, you may recall last time, when he was mayor of Baltimore and started their stat system. So we have the same kind of process in place now that we're calling LinkStat. And what you're seeing here is the results of our new system that allows us then to take the data that we've collected and then to start a process for action to make things better. So let me get to this part I want to show you here. So this is one of the indicators that we use to measure our success in terms of emergency performance, that we will arrive at the scene of a life-threatening call for service within 4 minutes, at least 90% of the time. And citizens can easily see our progress from this site, that we're not reaching that mark in 2016. We're getting there about 80% of the time. You can see the trend line has not been particularly good. And if you're wondering why this is happening, you can take a look at the data here and the analysis to find out that our city has been growing and we haven't added any fire stations for quite some time. So as part of this whole thing, we have a meeting where we examine this data and we ask LFR, look, what can we do? What recommendations can we put in place to make this better? Well, the obvious one is the quarter-cent sales tax for building 4 new fire stations. But the other component is this, is right here, the recommendations for action and what was decided at the meeting. The LFR is looking at and has in place a 7th ambulance that they've stood up that is working full-time. But at the LinkStat meeting, as we started to discuss this concept, the question became, is it better for us to have a 7th and an 8th ambulance that were available during peak times when we're seeing a lot more calls for service? Now, we're reporting that out publicly in a way that people can see it now and make conclusions about how we're moving forward and taking the action we need to take to improve this indicator. And literally every one of the roughly 150 indicators that we use to measure the city's progress is represented in one way or another in this format so that you can get a quick update on what we're doing and what progress we're making, divided up by the 8 outcome areas of the community or the city, any of the data that exists there. It's a great tool for checking in on government, seeing what we're up to. I'm a little nervous about showing it to the press because I can imagine Jane and Nancy now are going to go there and get lots of stories, hopefully all of them positive. And you can kind of see what this works like. Thank you.
All right. Thank you both. Time for questions.
So what data is not available on the website? What can a person not get here?
Oh, wow. Let's see here. Tom, Judy, why don't you try that one?
I can speak to help.
First of all, it's not finished,
Right.
right?
Exactly.
This is an ongoing
Right.
process. And so there's a ton of stuff that's not there, and depending on how the public responds, it may be larger or smaller than we ever imagined. So with that,
Right. We are just starting, and we are just beginning to work on the process of what data can be open to the public. There are some specific limitations, though. We do have some state laws and some federal laws that govern what information can be released and what can't be. For example, personal health information at the health department, we can't share that information, but that doesn't mean that we aren't looking at ways to show things in aggregate, so total amount of information without personally identified information attached to that. Also, some of the investigations that are happening in multiple departments, the laws may not allow us to release information while investigations are going on, but potentially we can do summaries of investigations at a later point in time. We just can't give that information as investigations are going on.
Judy, you'll have to just identify yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Diane. Judy Halstead, Lincoln Lancaster County Health Department Director.
How far does the data go back to? Like, what's the farthest we can get back?
It depends on the data set. We have one data set that goes back to the early 1900s, and that's city annexations. Most of the data, however, starts in about 2013, 2014. All the crime and Lincoln Fire and Rescue data, for example, we went back to 2013. And we're in the process, one of our subcommittees in the governance committee is a committee on inventorying and prioritizing data. My marching orders from the mayor were simple. It was grab the low-hanging fruit. What do we have that's already available that we could deploy to the public in this interface that would make it easier for them to get? And that's what we've focused on, is the things that we've already got available.
I think one thing to keep in mind here too is part of the performance management piece of this, we're trying to put in place systems to collect data. For instance, Public Works is putting in place new software so that they can measure the time it takes between when someone calls and a pothole gets filled. So those type of things will start to roll out as we develop data collection systems.
Why focus on data? Like, why is it so important to have data? Like, what does data say that, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Why don't you start and I go on.
Well, from my standpoint, the number one thing deploying data does is it shows our citizens that we're transparent. We want to provide that data, and we're not afraid for people to examine our data, do their own analysis. But there are also opportunities here that people might be able to leverage with machine-readable data that they can't in an application. So we've had an application out for things like crime data and fire runs for a long time. Actually decades. But you could never download that before on your own in a machine-readable format that you could use within your own application or conduct your own analysis. And we're hoping that as other cities have experienced, that we may have some citizens, businesses, developers, entrepreneurs, researchers, university students who find creative ways to use our data for analysis or applications that we haven't even thought of.
You know, given what's happening at the national level, we may be trending in the wrong direction, but we continue to believe that logic and common sense and facts, real facts, are the underlying basis for good government, and that vague statements and hypotheses and misdirections and other kinds of emotional reactions to management are not the best guide to good policy or the welfare of the citizens.
How was this funded again? It was a grant, correct?
This is just the time of the people involved. What Works Cities did select us as one of their communities, and they have a foundation, Bloomberg Philanthropies, that funded their work with us. Now, I'm not sure anyone else got paid anything extra. I know I didn't. Okay, so then it's been mostly the time of the city staff and the volunteers from the community that allowed us to get these two projects done.
Rick, can we talk about program improvement with performance management too, about doing better service?
Sure, in fact, why don't you take that?
Great. The other part that I think is important for everyone to understand is with performance management and measuring the data, goes back to the question that you had, we can improve the services we're providing to the public. So I'll give you two examples in the health department. We look at how quickly we're issuing permits to businesses. By measuring that data, we can see how well we're doing, and we can analyze that to see if we can do better. Another example is wait time in our clinic. We've looked at how long our patients waiting in our clinic and making program improvements to be able to serve the public better. And so with the performance management side that Rick was talking about, we're looking at how do we improve our customer service to the public.
Now, is this website also going to be in like an app form where you can download it, or are we just going to?
Not at the present time. However, I've tested it several times, and this site works great on a smartphone. It formats up real nicely, and almost all of it is perfectly usable on a small screen.
What's the difference between this site and the traditional Lincoln.ne.gov? Who should use which ones?
Well, it depends what you're looking for. The traditional website has all the offerings the city has. What the open data and performance management site has is just that. It's a gathering spot for all the data that we collect and all the performance indicators that we track to improve performance. So that's one convenient page so you can look at all of it. Lincoln.any.gov has an array of different services, and you can find just about anything that you need outside of data on that page.
Including a link to this site.
Yeah, Nancy, this is part of Lincoln.ne.gov. It's just the open data page in Lincoln.ne.gov.
All right, are we good to go? Thank you very much for covering what is, at least with respect to the second part of it, a difficult area for many citizens to understand, and good luck to you in helping us get them to understand what this is all about.